I'll go through, explain a bit of background and stuff, but I still class myself as an inexperienced runner. Certainly with the guys I come up against in races, they've been racing, running for years. But really I've only started taking it serious since 2013 really. I'll go through a bit. So background wise, I played a lot of football when I was at school. So 4 or 5 games a week generally. Got to quite a good level with the football. But the PE teacher at the school, during the PE lessons, I used to be ahead of everybody else. I got pressured to run for the school cross-country team. Didn't enjoy it, but carried on going. And it came to a point where I had to choose between football and running, and football won every time. So gave up running at the earliest opportunity. And then as life goes on, beer comes into it, women. So I played football on and off whilst I was at uni. Finished uni, stopped playing football in 2010. Got lazy, put on loads of weight, absolutely ballooned. So I went up to 14 stone. So decided I needed to do something to try and lose weight. There was one.
Yeah, we still feel like that. There you go, you're in the right company.
But that was kind of the reason why I started running or jogging at the time. I think I was probably twice a week I would do a maximum of 3-4 miles at a time. And then gradually, one of my friends, he got into running, so he kind of started going to races. So I did the occasional 10k with him, but I never really trained for it. I just thought I'll turn up and run. And then he stupidly put the idea of doing a marathon in my head. So that's what 2012 decided to run a marathon. Through the training for the marathon, I ended up developing an injury called compartment syndrome. So exercise-induced compartment syndrome. So I ended up having to have surgery on both of my legs in June 2012. So during marathon training, so the marathon was September.
What is exercise-induced compartment syndrome?
Basically, as the muscles are developing, they get stronger. So it was my calves. So within the calves, you've got 4 compartments. So the muscles are surrounded by connective tissue. So those compartments don't change in size, but the muscles were getting bigger. So there was a build-up of pressure. So at the time, I could run for 6 weeks, but then I'd have to have a month off.
Yeah.
So that obviously impacted on my training. So I had the surgery, which again wasn't ideal preparation because I had to recover from the surgery and try and train. So my first marathon was a shambles in terms of training. So around Berlin, I don't know how I managed to get around. That was the time.
Absolute shambles.
I was talking about my training, not the time. So God knows how I managed to get under 4 hours, but I did. And then after that, there was Desford Striders. There was a village I live in, Leicester. There was a local guy who was a member of that club who was running to raise money for charity, and his idea was to do an Advent kind of run. So every day throughout December he would run a distance that from the 1st up until Christmas it would total 250 miles. So I just started to go along with him just for a bit of support, and got chatting to different runners and joined the club. So improved quick. That was the main thing. Someone asked me earlier what was the main thing about with the progress, and certainly joining the club makes a big difference. Been chatting to Simon, trying to get him to join the club. The regular training, and you've got that commitment to other people to turn up and train with like-minded people and they want to run. That makes a big difference. So what I found when I started, I was middle of the pack, but I quite quickly found myself at the front of the runners within the club. And I thought, well, I needed to improve. I won't miss a bit out. So I returned to Berlin a year later after completing a decent amount of training, and I managed to get under the 3 hour mark. But by that point, I was at the front of the pack of the club, but I had no one else to chase. So that's how I like to train. So I'll have someone in front, so I can kind of target them. So that's when I switched to Hermitage Harriers, which is who I run for now. But during that, what year are we on now? My wife now became pregnant, so we had a little boy. He'll be 2 at the end of this month. So in terms of an event to train for, I kind of negotiated a deal where I couldn't run from marathons, I'd do a half. So I've got my good for age time for London, but I wanted to target a championship place. So the way to get into London is you can either get good for age or you can get championship time to qualify. So good for age was 3:05. For the championship it was 2:45 or 1 hour 15 for a half. So that's what I kind of was allowed to train for, shall we say. So I managed to get that was at the Robin Hood. And then then it's kind of gone on from there. So just a year ago I started working with a coach. And I got into my head that I wanted to do sub 2:30. So it was so frustrating in April this year to do 2:32.
Yeah, really horrible.
Takes
us off the corner.
But looking back now, I kind of look at these times and I think from there to there, I've actually achieved something quite good. So, at the time though, I was like a naughty kid with a tantrum. I was so annoyed with myself. But that's gone now. So this year now, we're obviously 2016. The plan now, I was speaking to my coach, he said, I think we're in a better position to go under 2:30. So my response was, well, I've changed my mind now. It's not going under 2:30, it's how far under I'm going to go. So that 2:30 is not going to be the target, it's 2:20 something. But again, progression-wise, for me, it's definitely more miles has made a big difference as well. So you can see it was only really from April 2013 is when I started logging how much I ran. So I missed out 4 months there, so it would have been more than that, but I don't know how many. But so my miles over the last 3 years have increased quite dramatically, and so this is since working with my coach, and that's what's made a big difference last year now. So I don't know how clear it is on the screen, but these I've put in red my PB time, which coming up against the guys I run with, I'm slow in comparison. This is why I say I feel very humbled to have to do something. I've been asked to do something like that.
How old are you?
32.
Change something now.
I don't understand. When you say who you compete with,
I'm only 37 years old.
These two for this year should have been PBs. This was a 7 mile race where I was hoping to go closer to 38, 39 minutes, but we had a freak day in England where it was 38, 39 degrees and it just wiped me out completely. So
You need to come here to train.
Oh, you need to come here and train.
The heat. From being 3rd or 4th after a mile to dropping, I think I finished 38th, 39th. So, and then this one was a 10 mile race, which again I was hoping to be 54, 55 minutes, but we'd been out in Cyprus for 2 weeks. Came out, got married this year, so training wise I ran a couple of times, but training wise just stopped. And it just has a massive effect on me if I don't run.
Ran away on the wedding day.
If I don't run, I seem to lose my fitness so quickly. but then this was set in. This was probably my favourite race this year. I did the last 2014. I finished second, so I got invited back as a free entry, and I was training for a 10k at the time, so I had no pressure. Didn't even look at my watch all the way around, and I ended up getting a PB, which I think I could knock 20 seconds off there, because coming down the finish line I picked up my son and carried him over the line. So
Did you win it?
no, I was third on the day.
You'd have won if you hadn't had your son on your back.
No, the winner did 60 knots, an hour and 9 minutes.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I think I would have been close to second, but as I say, I didn't have any pressure on myself, and I think that's probably why I enjoyed it more, because the other races like certainly the 230, there was a lot of pressure I'd put on myself, not from anybody else. So that's probably why I had reacted the way I did. And this 20-mile race, it was a training run, and with part of the marathon training. So I've never ran a 20-mile race course. It was always going to be a PB. But the way that my coach asked me to run it was to do 10 miles steady and then just race the second, because it was a 2-lap course. Just said race the second lap. So I went from 19th, 20th and finished 4th in the end. So managed to pick off quite a few runners, which is a nice way to run as you're passing people.
How much faster was your second? What were your splits on that 20 miles?
The target for the guidance was 6-minute miles for the first 10. So I did an hour for the 10 miles and then 54, 41 for the second 10. So it was that was an enjoyable run as well. That was a training run. Whereas this year, I'm doing another 20-mile race, but not that same one, purely because it was too close to London. So typical training week for me. Since I started working with my coach, he's got me doing double days. But the first time he asked me to do it, I thought, bloody hell, I'm never going to manage that. I'm going to be absolutely shattered. But breaking it down, so in the mornings, half an hour to 40 minutes, easy run. And then the same in the evening as Monday. So Monday is generally a recovery day. Tuesday morning, again, it would be an easy run, but then the speed session would be in the evening. Wednesday is just a repeat of Monday, so it's another recovery day. And then Thursday is similar to Tuesday, but it's more of a tempo run. Fridays is a non-running day, most of the time, but every now and again I will get an easy run to do, or told to do. Saturdays generally is an off-road fire-up training session, so there would be some great routes around here to do some sessions like that. And then a long run on a Sunday. That would be my general training.
And he split your trainings to a day for you or for him? Was that because of what you could, because of your lifestyle, or?
That's more how he likes me to train rather than. Cause when he first asked me to start doing these double days, I was like, I'd rather just go out and get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Then I could go out and do an hour in the morning, and I've got the rest of the day. But the reason being is, you're getting the miles in, but you're not breaking the muscles down, and your body can cope with it a lot better. So that was the reason. So kind of eventually I got one round. So that's probably not very clear. I'm not going to go through week by week. There's just a couple of things on the plan. So this would fit in with what I just said was a typical training week. So Tuesdays would be like the easy run in the morning and then a speed session. So they're either different interval sessions or track sessions. I think it was every 4 weeks I had to do a time trial, and then the mileage obviously varied from week to week. What happened this year though, I got injured again after week 8, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
So at the time I thought that was it, because I'd kind of diagnosed myself. I'm a physio, I didn't mention that. I'm a physio, so I diagnosed myself with stress response in my thigh. and I had another physio look and she agreed. So stopped running completely and spent the whole week in the pool, which going up and down, up and down, up and down, it was just so mind numbing. But I thought if I can try and maintain some kind of fitness and then see what happens. So I took a week complete off running, and then gradually, week 9 started in 1 run a day, but kept it really easy pace wise. And I don't think I went any higher than... Oh, so I did...
2 weeks.
Did I do 2 weeks?
Week 10 you got a fair bit of water stuff, haven't you?
Week 9.
Yeah, so 1 run a day, and then 1 aqua jogging session. So I was still trying to keep the fitness going, but I was only doing easy runs, so there was no particular sessions given from my coach that week. It was all going on how I felt I could manage. And then I decided to try and test myself with a fartlek session on the Saturday, and that felt completely fine. So then I thought, well, I'll go for a long run, and then again it was completely fine. So somehow I managed to recover quite quickly.
10 days, yeah.
Do you think that was the
so-
aqua sessions?
That won't help with the recovery, that would be more for the training.
Right.
So with aqua jogging, do you know, have you heard of aqua jogging?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard of it.
Yeah, so you're just running in the water, you're not actually...
What do you use as your resistance? Do you use a band? Or?
Have a belt, it's a buoyancy belt, and so you're just running in the water, so it's basically treading water going up and down the lanes, but it's not putting any stress through my leg at the time. So they're just some sample sessions of what I was doing as well. I think that's... I don't know, has anyone got any questions from any of that?
Just go through some of your abbreviations.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, no, Ian's asked one. For week 1, this Tuesday session, that's probably the one that's not clear at all. That is a club session, so there were 500 metre train routes. It's on an industrial estate, and then there's 1 at 5-minute mile pace, 1 at 6 mile, 2 at 6-minute mile pace, and then the 4th one was at 7-minute mile pace. The idea being it was to do 1 quick, then do 2 steady, and then the 4th one, sorry, was the recovery.
right. And then you did 3, so you ran 12 lots of 500.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you do most of your running on a track or on roads or on
On
small
roads.
routes? On roads.
Yeah, I think that's...
Where do you find it? Cause with the sort of mileage you cover, where do you just have the sort of the same 2 or 3 routes that you just do over and over and over again? Or?
For the half-hour runs, it's generally... Cause where I live, there's no... You have to stick to the main roads, otherwise there's no street lights.
Yeah.
So I get so bored just running round and round and round.
Yeah.
But the routes, so the long ones, I live in the Charnwood Forest in Leicester, so it's quite a nice area, there's lots of hills as well, different routes there, so I just make up as I go along.
Do you tend to be out running with a partner, or do you do it
occasionally,
Yeah.
so there's a couple of the guys I train with on a Tuesday on the track sessions,
Yeah.
and then I did do a couple of runs, longer runs with them. But going back to my friend who got me into running originally, he picked up an injury himself this year, so he couldn't do any training. He's the guy I would normally run with, but otherwise it was on my own. It can be lonely when you're out for a couple of hours just running around, but I'm just taking all the scenery of the countryside. It's
Do you ever feel like you're putting in the miles for the sake of putting in the miles rather than for...
like going through
Enjoying
places. Some days, but then at the end of it, I think it was thinking of the main goal, it was keeping that in mind, seeing what I'm working towards. So the marathon, if I don't do this session, if I don't get a time, I could look back and think, well, I didn't do that long run, so that could be the reason why I didn't achieve what I did.
You don't, according to this, I'm quite a novice at this, so, but what I've read, you're supposed to have some really free days in your training plan. You don't really rest, do you? It doesn't come across like you're resting at all.
No, the easy days are classed as recovery runs. So that's what my coach would say. It encourages the body to recover. So it fluctuates with the different training paces. So my training days will be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then a long run. The rest is either the weight session on a Friday, where generally I didn't run, or there was a recovery days. So I would be running, but it's more to encourage the recovery rather than train.
Because you've had two, well, I'm thinking of, you've already experienced 2 injuries, haven't you? So,
Yeah, the week 8, that was my fault,
yeah.
because I missed a session. I don't think I put it in actually. The Tuesday night I ran the club handicap race, and I felt a niggle. But I thought, well, I'll just run through it. So rather than being sensible, I carried on running. And then on the Thursday, I think it was a Thursday. Yeah, so that was, the week 8 was what was planned, but on the Thursday, the Lydiard loops. Has everyone heard of Lydiard loops or not? No. Okay. That's basically a loop where you need to have uphill, come across on a level, downhill, and then come across on a level again. So you need to find a loop like that. So the first is uphill is bounding, so going up the hill is the effort. You have a bit of a recovery, and then coming back. So coming, the way I did it was bounding up to the top of the hill, but when I got to the top of the hill there was a little level before I turned right. So that was my recovery from the top of the hill to the top, right to the end of the road. And then it was picking up the pace before I absolutely flat out down the hill. And that was where I picked up the injury, I think. Because the club race was downhill finish, and I absolutely hammered it to try and catch everyone in front of me. And I felt it then. And then I felt it again on the Thursday. So I didn't do the Saturday session. It was on the Sunday where it really kicked in. That's why I ended up taking that week off. But yeah, in terms of the body being able to adapt, that's what the easy days are for. Rather than, so I have one rest day basically from running a week, but then the recovery days are to try and encourage the body to adapt from the harder sessions.
Yeah. And also you're saying if you injure yourself, stop running, but find something else
Yeah, so do some cross
to keep
training.
the fitness up,
Yeah.
otherwise you just lose a lot.
Yeah, if you can't, I found it, well, if anyone try and run through an injury, you're just going to make it worse. So I did what I could to try and keep going. I think with a relatively small chance of being able to get to London still, and luckily I got there. But yeah, if you get an injury, try and find something which will offload the area which you've injured, but you can still try and maintain some fitness, whether it be cycling, swimming, or just using a cross trainer. Any other questions from the
What's a Kenyan jog?
Kenyan jog, which is basically
It's like Kenyan's own jog. It's like a nice chat.
that was basically not far off walking pace, but warming up. Because obviously a long run marathon.
Yeah.
So I did half a mile. I can't remember what pace I was doing, but I wasn't far off walking. Just trying to get the legs, just get the blood flowing before.
Dynamic tool.
Yeah. Before going out and getting into the race.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, so has anyone heard of lactate testing?
I've heard of it, but
This is what my coach uses to determine my different training zones. So it's the testing on a treadmill where it starts at a set speed and you take a blood sample. You run for 3 minutes at that speed and then they'll take another sample, and that's just repeated until you get this sudden increase in lactate levels within the blood. So from that, basically that's to determine your threshold running pace. So the threshold pace is basically the pace you can maintain for an hour without having to stop. But with this is a bit more kind of obviously scientific. This graph, I was invited to a research study at Loughborough University back in October. So the first 3 lines, so I had to do a test at the start of the research project, halfway through and then at the end, and they were looking for the changes as part of their, it was 3 sessions a week I had to do there. They were looking at how that affected me as an individual. But the blue one here, I've just put this in just to show you, from December, so the green one was December, so there was an improvement with the project they did for, I think that was an 11-week project, but then the blue line is after the marathon training. So it's just that, this is just to highlight the improvement which can be achieved with a structured training programme. So I've gone from there to there over the 16 weeks.
So your heart rate there, just looking at the data, so 5 minutes 22 mile, a heart rate of 163 beats a minute. Yeah?
Yeah.
What's your
Max is
what's your
176.
176. Is 176 high or low? Do you think that
I think
for a maximum?
I think it's relatively low. I thought my max heart rate was higher, but from the
Low
So
for
what-
your age, isn't it?
because the general guidance is 210 minus your age.
Yeah. So your when you race, when you run London,
Yeah.
what percentage of your, when you look at your average effort
Yeah.
for the 26 miles, what percentage of your maximum do you think you'll race at?
One of my training runs I had to do 17. I had to do 17 miles at marathon race pace.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
But one of the long runs.
Week 7.
Week 7.
Week
On the Saturday, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so marathon. My target marathon race pace was 5:41.
Yeah.
But I ran it in 5:37. I think my heart rate was 155. I think, yeah,
And what did you say your maximum was?
176. So that
88.
it was to stay under
my ambition
155.
to get to 6 minutes quicker.
That was the,
No, that's it.
the
That's
guidance
all
from my
right.
coach.
I'm 6:22 at the minute.
So what's your resting heart rate? I'm interested.
When I've checked,
About
it's gone,
15.
when I've checked, it's gone as low as 37. Yeah.
37 did you say?
Yeah.
I just really, I thought I don't know, I don't really know that much about this. I thought your maximum heart rate would have been much more than 175. I mean, I think I've seen, I don't know.
Oh, I
For
thought
me,
it
I've
was,
seen maybe like 190 when I'm about to die somewhere. I've seen 190 on a watch or something. And I think it would have been like way higher than
I personally thought it was high. It's only when I've done this test I've kind of obviously realised what it is. But it's God knows what it is at the moment, because this week, going back to what I said earlier, if I have any time off, I just lose my fitness back to it. And I've eaten quite a lot whilst I've been here, so heart rate it won't be anywhere near 37 at the minute.
Yeah, we had a hard run today.
What I found interesting, I've not got the comparison figures, but this study also looked at running economy, so the higher the figure, the better. Whereas this was after my marathon training, my economy actually went down. So I was 243 was the figure, I think, for the Loughborough study. But the only thing I thought I could contribute that to was I'd gained weight. So I was having to carry more when I was racing. But yeah, so that was a bit more information of the benefits of a structured training programme.
And that's your VO2 max was 69. Is that right?
No. My VO2 max, because that was a different test.
Right.
So this is a sub-maximal test. The VO2 max was 80.9.
Oof. Really?
But
Okay.
You speak to different people, like VO2 max isn't really, you can't compare one person to another.
So with the VO2 max, you have to have it done in a testing situation, or is there any other way you can work out your own VO2 max?
I think so. There can be predictors, but you need, to work it out specifically, you need to do a test.
Just to do a test, isn't it?
How much is
The
this
bleach
test?
test,
How much is the test?
I don't know.
You
I mean, for the lactate test on its own,
Yeah.
60, 70 pounds.
Right.
They have it too in Nicosia hospital only inside.
Oh, in Nicosia you can do it?
The hospitals only when Nicosia was the
Okay.
general one.
The coach I work with is 60, 70 pounds, but at Loughborough it's 150, I think.
Okay.
But luckily, the Loughborough I didn't have to pay for any of that. So I got all the information for nothing. Okay, so after London, like I say, I was like a child with a tantrum. It took me ages to actually accept and get over.
Well, they're only going to get cold, aren't they? Sorry, Fiona. Hang on. I'm thinking about replenishing.
I dare now.
Yes, you can go now.
Oh, hello, dog.
Yeah, great.
Sorry.
That's right. So after London, I did a kind of self-analysis of what went wrong. So I had a debrief with my coach, and I had this long list of what went wrong. And anyone guess the first thing he said to me? What went right?
Oh.
Well, that's the best thing to say, because that's really positive.
Yeah. That's what he said. He said, all this is great and you've analysed it, but it's all negative.
Yeah.
And I'll come on to a bit more about that. That's kind of his response. So it's working with a coach. It's great just to have someone else to bounce ideas off and kind of keep you going in the right direction. Basically.
Is your coach through the club, or do you?
I met him through the club.
Right, but you've engaged him.
Yeah, he works
independently.
on a one-to-one basis. So after London, what my coaching noticed is the correlation, going on the slide earlier on where I had my times with my marathon, what he said is it doesn't correlate with the rest of the times. So my marathon time, I should be a lot faster over the shorter distances. So that was the plan then for the rest of the year. So to get a quicker 5k time, a quicker 10k time. So it was only recently I managed to get a 16:08 at the 5k, which is a park run. But the real target was the Leeds Abbey Dash 10k, where I wanted to get sub 33, close to 32 and a half as I could. But going back to what I said, I still class myself as an inexperienced runner, racer. Got carried away with the quicker guys, and by 2 miles my race was basically over. I was hanging on for dear life. But I managed to get back, I think I didn't go under 33 anyway.
Says here 32.52.
That wasn't Leeds.
That was another run.
That was so Loughborough 10k.
Right.
I said to my coach, that's going to be way heavy on my mind until I do a decent time. And I found this the week after, which isn't ideal, but I said, well, at least try it. So switched the race, actually went with a race plan this time, started out steady and got quicker as the race went on. So I went under 33 then, so I did 30, that was the 32.52. Robin Hood and Leicester half marathons, again, because where I finished the years before I got invited back, I wouldn't have entered them otherwise, but they were just basically added in as a longer run as part of the training. And then the last test I had, they also predict, they can give you a prediction of what times you can get the races, and that was the 2:26 figure. So it would be fantastic if I can get anywhere near that. Obviously you've got to train as well, but that's the kind of prediction. So marathon training for this year, it's 16 weeks today is London, so tomorrow should be the first day of training for when the hard work should start, but I'm travelling home tomorrow, and then I'm being tested again on Wednesday, so my first 2 days marathon training and rest days. So that doesn't happen very often.
I like that.
The big issue with me, again, is still weight. So I stand up on the start line in racing, and I'm like a heavyweight in comparison to other people around me. I'm twice the size. Robin Hood stood on the start line, and then all the elite guys come out, and there's a Kenyan guy with his leg was as wide as my arm, and he I think they did 63 minutes for the half. So that's...
What about his muscle though? I mean, you've got muscles, I mean, you've not got big legs, but you've got muscles there to propel you along. They've got nothing there, have they really?
Again, that's how the body adapts. It's being more efficient with the way that the muscles are working. So they need to have, it's a very fine line. I think going back to when I got injured in my marathon training, I was at my lightest. So again, it's a very fine line of being a healthy weight where you can still be efficient with running. Or if you cross that line, that's when you start to pick up the injuries.
That's what you've always said, Ian, isn't it? When you're coming up to a marathon, you're borderline healthy to ill.
Yeah.
Ian, if he's at the weight he should be, he looks really gaunt, you know, so that people think he is ill.
Imagine my wife hates it.
I'm obviously not that weight at the moment then.
Have another bacon sandwich.
Have another sandwich.
It's probably quite tricky as well to actually, and I wonder how you do this, improve your nutrition but still get rid of that weight you want to really get rid of at the end of the day.
This is going back to changes to make an improvement from last year. I've started working with a dietitian this year as well. So my diet is shocking. So I think...
What do you during the training then? Is it high protein as well as carbs?
What I was finding, I thought I was eating the right amount of protein and carbs.
Yeah.
But basically what he was saying, I wasn't eating enough. I was eating the right, proportion-wise, it should be the other way around. I was having too much protein and not enough carbohydrates. Whereas I need to be eating more
So what percentages were they saying?
I need to look at it again. I've got it all in a file at home.
Right.
I can't remember the percentage. It might be 80-20 or something like that.
Do you eat much meat?
Sorry?
Do you eat much meat? Are you a big meat eater?
I love meat, but I try to limit red meat now. I eat a lot of chicken.
I think you were spotted yesterday going into Burger King though.
They go to Burger King, Taco Bell. During marathon training, I'll sort my diet out, but the rest of the year, like I was talking to Maddie, my wife, yesterday, I said I can compare myself to Ricky Hatton. The boxer, during his training, he would really slim down and drop the weight easily, but the rest of the time he'd be kebabs and beer and all that.
Do you have like a diet 2,000 calories per day or 1.5 calories per eat, or is just on the right?
It's
because if you do around like week sometimes, like a half marathon, it was 1,500 calories something.
So talking to the dietitian, he said general guidance is 2,500 a day.
2,500 a day.
If you're running 100 miles.
But then on top of that, because in burning calories, you need, so it could be 3,500, 4,000 a day to eat, just to maintain.
But bear in mind his age.
Again, it's all relative to
That's a lot
When
of
you
mince
get
pies,
older,
isn't
you
it?
need far fewer calories.
And it's the right calories as
I
well.
had my basal done, and just to maintain my weight, a normal activity, no training, I only need about 1250 a day. So if I ran, I could need more. But
Do you eat much on the run?
No, I can't.
Nothing at all? Or
No.
what about fluids, liquids? Just
Fluid, this is again
it's
different things I'm practicing with it now, because for London last year I ran with a marathon belt, so I had gels.
Yeah.
So training wise I'll train with the gels.
Yeah.
But that irritated me.
Well, having it physically
having the belt,
yeah,
and then you've got the gels as you're running, they're flapping up and down. So it was another distraction. So the plan this year is to get rid of the gels completely, and I'm practicing with think they have they've got Lucasade London, so I'm
Yeah.
mixing with bottles of Lucasade.
So you just rely on the aid stations.
Yeah,
You won't carry anything or take
that's the
anything.
plan. So when I'm training, I'm going to be going out and just dropping bottles around, so I can pick one up as I'm running.
How do you feel like before your long runs and before the marathon? Do you eat the night
Um,
before, or do you eat in the morning as well?
Yeah, if we're going out for a long run,
Mhm.
I'll have something to eat at least an hour before we go out.
What would you have typically?
Porridge generally, so porridge and fresh fruit.
Mhm.
But after speaking to the dietitian, it's not malt loaf. So,
Oh, God, I love malt.
You need a copy of that diet plan.
That's the one thing I'm going to take away from today.
At least it's having malt though.
so recently, I need to get some shares in Sorry.
Yeah.
Not that many. So I would have a loaf of malt loaf before I'd go out and do 20 miles.
So on a loaf, yeah, he's running so quick, he doesn't need any shells and stuff. You know.
You say have a loaf?
That's what I have. I need to look at the figures again.
I was thinking 2 or 3 slices. But
Gets better and better, doesn't it?
I checked the link for a loaf of sorry, and it's 800 calories.
So, by the way, just an aside, you can eat malt loaf directly from the freezer. You take it out of the freezer, cut it with a good knife, and
Yeah.
you can eat it immediately. It never freezes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's much easier to butter. There you go.
I've cut out butter. That's
Oh.
so the
Well
diet.
done. Well done.
Just
No
the malt
butter.
loaf.
the most perfect question. What about alcohol during your training?
I've stopped. I don't drink.
Do you know what you're training like?
I
Well, there's some good.
I gave up alcohol for Berlin 2013,
Yeah.
and then obviously Theo was born January 2014. Because after the marathon, I thought, oh yeah, we'll go out on the lash and have a few beers. We got to the bar, we had a beer and went home.
Do you have a bit of fall over?
But we just did, we had it, and I thought, I don't really want one now. So you go through all your training and think, oh, I can have a beer at the end of this. And I didn't want one when we got to the end of it. So I lost the taste. And then with the little one, it's getting up in the morning with a hangover.
Yeah, that's
Good idea.
So I've just cut it out, and I've not missed it at all. We got married this year, and I had a reception and stuff, so I had a couple of nights drinking and stag do's and stuff, but generally I don't drink. I'd rather go without hangovers.
See, you've started a trend here.
But there are the guys in my running club who will go out on the night before and they'll run PBs the next day. So it's all,
We have a couple.
personally, I can't.
Jerry.
Mind you, Jerry, when you did the Seoul Marathon, he finished it and you had beer, didn't you? And you were really,
Yeah, I
he
wasn't
became really ill instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just after
We've got the photo.
had one beer.
Yeah.
He was really bad.
Well on the 4-day challenge on there.
I can't think that's happened to me on one occasion as well.
I always have that
But
beer
again, it
that's
just puts
enough.
you off.
Yeah.
I get a couple of beers.
No, I came in, I had 7 beers and I was fine.
So the simple rules of belong to a club,
Yeah,
keep
I've
your
got that.
miles up,
yeah,
Don't
get a
drink it.
training plan or have a target,
yeah.
look at your nutrition, and then when you're running the race, pace it.
Yeah,
Don't start off.
yeah. Be sensible on the basis. The mental toughness for me is a problem.
What's
Mental toughness,
mental
the psychological
right
side.
attitude?
Yeah.
Do you have any little tricks or mind games you do?
This was what I started.
Yeah.
Started working on this year, and towards the end of last year for this year. Because going back to London last year, by 20 miles, I thought I'd blown it completely. So I was looking at my watch thinking, oh, I've got no chance of going in 2.5 hours. No, sorry, 24 miles. So there were 2 miles left to go, 2.2. But then looking back at my splits afterwards, I was still on target.
Oh, really?
So I lost a minute a mile on those last 2 miles, and that would have been.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, there's so much in the mind. So that's what I'm trying to work on this year. So it's all different cues and being in the right frame of mind, right. But when I started working with Mark, my coach, he wanted to. A lot of it is heart rate based, and I can't get on with that. Then he agreed to start working on pace, which was fine. And that's how I ran. But during London, I was constantly checking my watch. So that's where again I found I'd lost focus on what I should be doing. So we've agreed this year that just allowed me to just run on how I've been feeling. So he'll give me the session, so run a session, half an hour easy run. He would say it needs to be between, for me, from a watch up and run, and get back, and I'd been doing 7:12. So for me, I'd say I prefer to run on feel. So for London this year, I'm planning to run without a watch, because I've got every mile marker, there's a clock, so you know what time you're doing. But I'm just going to be running on how I feel. That is the plan. I said earlier, I've changed the 20-mile race from Ashby 20 to, I'm doing the Milton Keynes 20 beginning of March this year. So that's bringing it forward 3 weeks. And I'm going to do a half marathon the week after, and then that's the Leicestershire Road Running League. I had an idea that I wouldn't be doing them this year, but my coach wants me to maintain race sharpness. These ride, it's just information, different training zones. They're not all on there, are they? So I can ignore that, but it's the table at the bottom. That's the guidance that my coach wants me to work the different sessions in. So he'll say, do a session, a tempo run, and so it will be between 5:16 and 5:35 pace for me. And then recovery runs between 6:45 now and 7:18. So that would be my easy pace run. And then when I'm working hard, obviously it gets quicker.
He worked that out, did he?
Yeah.
He gave that to you.
Just for people that are just running for enjoyment, if you like.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, but how far do you think you would have progressed without a coach? How much input has it been for you?
Massive improvement for me. I was talking to you, Simon, earlier.
What, about joining a club? Yeah.
Joining the I can't remember what I was talking about. When
Well, having a good training plan, sort of, because not everyone can follow practice, with having a good training plan and sticking to it, and recording your times and everything,
Yeah.
that makes a difference.
Making a log.
I do that, believe it or not. I mean, I'm very slow, but I've got a record of every run I've done.
What I used to do, I pick a target race, so Berlin or Robin Hood, and I had Paula Radcliffe's book, Learn How to Run, and I just picked the training plan out of her book.
Right.
But I had no idea what pace I should be doing the different sessions. So what I found was a training pace calculator online, and I put in the target time I wanted. This is a complete, I wouldn't recommend doing this. Put in the target time I wanted, and then it produced these guidance for the different training zones. So how I've got this is more from the tests, but those predictors or pace calculators give you different training zones. But that's if you can train at that pace. Whereas at the time I think my PB for a half was 1:22. So to get down to sub 1:15, that was a training pace, but it wasn't for me. So I was working too hard. And that was the big thing with the coach, it was telling me to slow down.
Right. I mean, what's interesting for me is that this month's Runners World has got a 16-week plan for the marathon.
Yeah.
And it's not that dissimilar to yours. Obviously, it's much more generic.
Yeah.
But their pace, they've given a predictor of if you can run 5k in this time, 10k in this time.
Yeah.
You should be aiming for this time for a full marathon or a half marathon, and then you base your training according to that. And for me, I think it would probably work because it's a discipline.
Yeah.
You know, there's a target week by week.
Yeah. Having that structure in place will be the key thing. There's different training methods, and everyone has their own schools for. But this is where going back to I just get told what to do now. It takes the thinking side away from it, which is for me is great.
It's like being married then.
But yeah,
you've just had a look, so I'm sure you knew.
But the different training plans, it's there for guidance. Let's say they're generic, but if they'll give you a guidance of what time.
Yeah, the easy days and
Yeah.
you know more intense training.
Yeah.
When you had your training plan, you said you ran easy for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, did you have a distance that you were supposed to do in 30 minutes, or?
This is another thing. My coach works on time rather than distance. Some
Nice.
plans will say go out and do 4 or 5 miles. And you was half an hour. I'd always say, well, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. And that's the idea. Because it's a recovery. Going back to it's a recovery run.
Well, if I did 30 minutes and you did 30 minutes, I wouldn't get very far.
Again,
You'd be down.
it's all relative to individuals. So it would be run 30
But you're still both doing 30 minutes.
Yeah, you're still doing 30 minutes. Doesn't matter what distance.
It's very recovering.
So in other words, I will be putting as much effort in
Yeah.
for my 30 minutes as you would be, even though I've only gone down the
Yeah.
road and gone.
Also, it's all relative, isn't it?
This is all relative to your fitness level.
Ability.
Do it in the car, Jen.
But I would always say to him, I feel like I should be doing more. And he said, well, I'm not going any further than 45 minutes for recovery run. And he doesn't like me doing that, so it's maximum I'll go is 40, I think there. And he'll throw in some strides at the end, which are basically the accelerations and decelerations. But yeah, it's all relative. He won't say go and do 10 miles or something like that. Like even long runs, it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours, rather than mileage.
Does he work in your form as well, so you can watch your run?
No,
No.
no. He comes and watches, but
Yeah.
form-wise, it's just
Yeah, so it's more just the training.
Yeah.
You find recording important as well.
What
don't
training
you?
technique improves your speed the most?
what training technique.
Yeah.
What different types of sessions.
Yeah.
It's having the variation.
Oh, so it's everything.
On the
Together.
the speed sessions, so a lot of my sessions will be interval sessions on a track, so it can be anything from 200 metres up to 1200 metre reps. So you'll go to, I think the last 200 metre rep session I did was 200 metres at 90-95% effort, 200 metres jog recovery, and I had to do that 12 to 16 times, I think it was. So that's a bit of a killer session, but it's aiming for consistency rather than doing one fast then hanging on for 15 reps. It's making sure kind of the best guidance I've had is start off quick but get quicker during the sessions. But yeah, getting the variation of hills, interval sessions, fartlek sessions,
Yeah.
tempo runs.
So it's like a jigsaw, putting it all
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. So the different sessions have. He tells me what they're for, but I don't take any notice. I just go out and run. I should really take more notice of what the session's actually aiming to achieve. Well, I just like running. That's why, if going back to the psychological side of things, there's just too much stuff in my head. I end up thinking, oh, this is, there's too much going on, basically. So we had a talk at our running club from a psychologist who went through everything, and she just basically said, you need to think about the here and now and what's going on, regardless of what's in races, what's going on around you. So if you've got someone out in front, why are you trying to chase him? You should be concentrating on your own running, and the likelihood is you'll go by him anyway. But yeah, so there's too much going on in my head, causes problems.
Do you ever run with music?
No, I can't. Again, if I could run in just a pair of shorts, I would love it. If I have a t-shirt on, I don't like wearing a t-shirt, I don't like wearing a vest. I just feel...
No, as possible.
Mankini.
If I have earplugs in, then it would just be again another irritation. It's like
I mean, I've never done it. I don't know how you could run with music because you sort of want to run to the rhythm of your body rather than the beats that are in here. But I know a lot of people do it.
Yeah, and all the races now are banned anyway.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, they say you get disqualified, but I don't know how I don't know if anyone who actually has to. But no.
Why have they banned them as a safety
Yeah.
issue?
because of the road races.
Yeah.
So if you're going out on a long run on your own and you can't hear anything other than music, it's, but no, that's not because I don't use it, I just don't like. So future goals for me, next Saturday we've got our Leicestershire County Cross Country Championships, and I'm not the biggest fan of cross country, but my coach has told me to do it. So hopefully I'll get selected for the inter-counties, obviously go back down to London. For me it's unfinished business, so I've got a score to settle.
That's the 2:30.
That's 2:30.
Yeah.
220
something.
220
something.
And then other goals, like Mark has said to me, what do you want to achieve after London? But for me it's one thing at a time. Maybe go to sub 70 for a half, try and get a 10k faster or 5k faster. But London's a big goal for me.
Are you getting better as you're getting older? Or is that because of the training and the coach?
I think it's more the training. Maddie, my wife, she's supportive. She's definitely supportive, but I get nagged at as well for running a lot. So
Be diplomatic.
It was dominate quite bits of your life though,
Yeah.
so I can understand where she was coming from really. If she doesn't run or can't
No.
run because of having a child.
So I try and get my runs early when everyone's asleep,
Yeah.
or when Theo's gone to
Get one of
bed.
those running strollers. There was a woman in that
Yeah.
Aphrodite half marathon with a
Yeah,
baby.
she did.
Yeah.
She beat me. A baby.
I looked at
Beat
them.
him by a 3-month-old baby.
I looked into that, but you need to get a good one at
Yeah.
500-600 quid, and I said to them, I'd rather spend that on something else with Theo
Shoes.
rather than take him out. Yeah. But yeah, I'll try and fit my training around the lifestyle rather than let the training dominate. But yeah, so after London, she's already said to me, I hope you're taking some time off.
You will.
So going forward, I don't know what will happen after London. And for me, I think I'm 32. I'd like to get in as much as I can whilst I'm improving, because there's going to come a point where it'll start to plateau and it's tail off.
I know you do this county cross-country championship things you've said, but have you ever fancied doing anything like Ian does, like
The ultras.
ultras or
No.
trails?
That'll come.
Marathon.
The ultras though, they're completely different.
Yeah, they're
A
completely different
marathon is more
minds.
about speed, and even so the ultras about survival, so that you, and the
Yeah.
I know there are
training's
totally
completely
different like
different.
road racing and trails, but...
He's not ill enough yet. He's not ill enough yet.
The ultras don't appeal to me.
Listen,
No. Like people say to me as well about triathlons, why don't you do a triathlon? I don't like cycling.
Yeah.
Swimming. Swimming's, I enjoy swimming, and obviously running. So,
each to our own.
yeah.
Each to your own.
Whether these will happen, I don't know.
They will.
London will.
They
London
will.
definitely will, but whether I'll get a chance to work on these.
Does the missus run? Or
She started to get into running, but then she became pregnant, so because she wasn't a runner, she was advised not to carry on. So, and then she actually applied to get into London through the ballot.
Did she apply or did you apply for
No,
it?
she wanted to. As a charity run, but well, to raise money for charity if she got in, but she didn't get a place. And if she did, I don't know how it would have worked with the training.
Well, I think there's going to be 20 people in this room following you. when you cross the line in London, you can be sure they'll be like, oh, he's done it, he's done it.
I'll look a bit different because I have a ritual where I shave my head.